Chair, I would like to stress the importance of adherence to timelines, um, especially in procurement matters. Um, the procurement person here who agree with me with the term called panic buying or panic procurement. If you don't plan your procurement timeously, the process becomes very expensive. I think you agree with me. Considering that most of your materials for elections and other things like that, they're imported. Just like my brother here, the census and the ICT manager alluded to that, they are denominated in dollars. And then you are supposed to have this in 2017. Huh? 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever. Huh? Could you be right? Can I be right to assume that some of these delays are deliberate? It's like you seeing that your millimil is going down, then you go and start looking for it at midnight. That's when you know there's no millimil here. Because that's the general narrative that is there. You cannot go into a battle, then you say that you have got no ammunition. Is this act deliberate? Much referring to the panic buying that I'm talking about, because it becomes a chain. In an event whereby maybe you wanted to use the road transport, you end up maybe putting them on the plane, which is expensive, just to mention one example. Can you give some light on that? Thank you, Chair.
Further questions? Respond, the Statistician General Former.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to assure the committee that the panic buying wasn't deliberate. What I would want to state is that the resources to start early procurement before 2021 were not provided. They were not adequate. And one example I would give is a process that is known as mapping and listing, where we're supposed to go around and establish a number of households. Even that time in 2020, we had to do it in 3 phases. And what we used to do when we were given some money, we would actually first put it in a bank like Chasefu and raise enough money. So we divided the country into 3 areas: Lusaka province, trial, and then the other provinces, second phase, and the 3rd phase. That's how we managed to do the mapping and listing. Now, mapping and listing is important to any census. Once you've done mapping and listing, you must conduct a census within, I think, a year. Otherwise, you'll have to go back again, spend more money to update the mapping and listing. So, in short, Chair and Honourable Members of Parliament, I would like to state that it wasn't deliberate. We tried as much as possible to do what we could do.
Honourable Musumali.
Maybe well, we interrogated you enough on this aspect. Maybe you can assure us now that you have now a fully fledged procurement unit that is composed of professionals, unlike the situation where you were, where this important task was being handled by people who are not qualified, hence all these mistakes that were made. Do you have now a full-fledged procurement unit at Zamstat?
Statistician General Emeritus, would you like to hazard the response, or you want to give the current?
I would like to give the current. I'm no longer there, so I think the PS and the current could actually help.
Yes.
With your indulgence, Chair, I will ask the board chair of Zamstat to give a response to this one, considering that I think the transition of the institution, he's taking the lead in that. Thank you.
Coincidentally, the board chair current is around, and his predecessor, the board chair emeritus, is not here. Yet you have brought the past statistician general and the chief accountant, Kwaposha Spilett. Why have you left out the previous board holder? Board chairperson, give the House comfort that in the current dispensation, you have restructured your management to ensure you have a full team in procurement that will reflect not only in terms of complexion, but in terms of performance. Board Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much also the members of the committee. I want to state that this is a board that has been in existence for the last 5 months now, and you probably would want to know that between the previous board and this board, there was some reasonable gap before this board was actually appointed. We took office, an oath of secrecy, on the 19th of November, so in between there's so many things that have been happening. Chair, may also maybe bring to the attention of the committee that we are in the process of transitioning. When the census was being undertaken, was actually being undertaken by government officials, basically as part of the Central Statistical Office, and we're now transitioning to Zamstat. We have commenced the process of attaching staff from the previous setting of the Central Statistical, so to speak, to Zamstat. And that process will lead into, Chair, what you're alluding to, restructuring. In other words, re-looking and assessing the kind of skills that we have in the current setting. Having said that, Chair, that we do, even in the current setting of this transition, a procurement team, which we will still need to review, assess the capacities that are available to begin to put in place the kind of skills that are required in a corporate institution, so to speak. So, Chair, the comfort that we're giving is that as we speak this particular week, we already have quite a number of staff that are being attached to Zamstat, and what will then follow with that will be the assessment of skills and everything that is required to be able to begin to operate in some of these things that we're talking about, and you know, plugging some of the issues that are probably being faced at the moment. We are confident, Chair, that once we are fully fledged Zamstat, we should be able to deal with some of these issues much more effectively than perhaps maybe that has been observed at the moment. And also to just mention that, you know, with the experience that perhaps the board chair has with the running of National Statistical Office, I know that the census is a very challenging activity. And usually there's a lot of pressure that takes place during the conduct of the census. So in the absence of proper procurement documents, proper documentation of the census process itself could lead to some challenges. This is not to suggest that perhaps that those were lacking, but perhaps maybe there were other circumstances, as said by the former Solicitor General, that they were faced with challenges of coming from COVID, the lack of financial resources that were being provided, that were ought to have been provided at the time to run the census, and that perhaps some of the decisions that were being made were based on the kind of resources that were made available, and that resulted perhaps in some of the inefficiencies and deficiencies that you may have observed, Chair. I submit, Chair, up to here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Further questions? Honorable Anakoka.
Chair, allow me to move on. PS, I have a couple of questions, some of which I think you have responded to. But nonetheless, the committee would still want to register its concerns. And these are to do with the failure to maintain a complete asset register. You have responded to the issue of some items were too small, and others you had issues to do with just indicate their location, others unaccounted for. The tablets you have explained that the supplier has since returned them. Failure to unaccounted for computers. So it's a combination of issues, but all to do with how these assets were being managed. So, Chair, I'll just ask one question and then maybe make a comment. I will just pick the issue of failure to indicate the location of these assets. Why was this a problem?
PS.
Thank you so much, Chair and Honorable Member. I would like to, I think, bring in the Statistician General to give us a response on this one in terms of the asset management system at the time of the audit and probably what the situation is now.
Proceed, Statistician General.
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, at the time of the audit, being an e-census, almost all processes took on board an electronic format, and this included the asset management. Because of the many assets, the many equipment that we had an electronic asset management system that was developed, which could help track all the assets. And since then, we have noted still the need to adhere to the asset management record that is required, and we have since rectified that. For the items which we said they were too small, we had said that barcodes were created for these, and these have all since been done, and they are available for verification. And further, Chair, we have had, I think in the earlier session, we did say we admitted to capacities also during the census, as has been said, there being a huge exercise requiring a lot of resources, and some of it, as you know, asset management is a function under the account section, where we said we also had some challenges. But just to assure the House that we do have the process on the ground now as expected, and it's available for verification. We did proceed to go to, we had some discussion after that in terms of, are we going to move away, or does this system which works electronically, do we continue to enhance it? It did work for the census, but we have since put in place the requirements as per ordinarily done, and we do have a change, and we would invite even the PS to come and anyone else or the auditor to come and just, we took a few pictures just to demonstrate what it is we've done. In the audit report, we did get pictures of what it was. We do have some new pictures of what it is now. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Nakoka.
Thank you, Chair. The Statistician General, you have assured us what will happen going forward. But I think as a committee, we would still find it difficult to appreciate why there was no indication of the location of these assets. Because these assets, you were working through them electronically, understandably so. But what was so difficult with you indicating which tablets are in Northwestern Province and in Northwestern Province in which districts, that shouldn't have been a problem, because the information you gave to the auditor was that, in fact, everything else was there, but there was no location, which means that verification couldn't be done at district level and at provincial level. So nonetheless, I will not raise a follow-up question on that issue. I think it's just a reaction to what you have indicated. Chairperson, I wanted to conclude my intervention on this aspect with a comment. Remind us, what was this agent's code before?
It was called the Central Statistics Office.
And on that, the change from Central Statistics Office to ZAMSTATS, I believe was intended to indicate the nature of what you want to be focusing on. We had gotten used to hearing about that office only when there is a census being carried out. And I would want to believe that the idea now is that everything to do with what's happening in this country should be at your fingertips. And in that sense, PS, we can't be doing a census in the same way it was carried out in the days of King Harold, you know, going around counting people physically. There has to be things you are planning for in the next census. That should not involve running around in a crisis because you have to physically be going around counting people. I once was an enumerator myself many years ago. And when I saw young girls and young boys doing the census in my constituents, apart from that, they were entering information on the tablet. The system and processes still appeared to be the same. So I think there is need for you to start planning for much more smarter ways of doing things, including having statistics on everything. If somebody wants to know what is our industry production capacity for different products in the country, that should be available from ZAMSTATS. So that means you need to have robust systems. But if we're having challenges with software like this, then we'll be waiting forever really to get to that level. Chair, with your permission, I would like to move to another area. Yes, please proceed. This was to do with recruitment of, I think, enumerators.
The recruitment of enumerators, yes.
Yes, and the double payment.
Honorable Nyemba had questions on that.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. On the census recruitment management PS, there were a claim of unpaid census allowances, which resulted into the loss of funds, where you have submitted and stated that you conducted a validation process and that all the outstanding allowances have been paid. Now this committee, PS, would want to know, what is your comment on the amount of 828,970 that was claimed as unpaid by the provincial regional offices? What is your comment over this 828,000? The other question, you keep a tab. Why did management fail to pay the census allowances despite the availabilities of funds, where you are giving the 25%, where you were swimming with the 25%, you knew what you were doing? Then the other question is on double payment of numerators allowances. And you have submitted the PS that, and you have indicated that the process to recover the overpayment was a process at the same time of audit. What circumstances that led to the double payment of enumerators allowances? Why did you pay them double? Then I'll come, after these three questions have been answered, I'll come with the last two, Chair, if you can permit me.
You can actually proceed with those two questions.
I proceed with the questions, Chair.
Yes.
Then the other question, PS and your team, questionable use of single national registration cards, NRCs, which is in the Auditor General's report on page 269 and 270. First of all, Chair, before I can move on where I was submitting on double payment of enumerators allowances, there were two more questions. How much has been recovered to date? That double payment, how much have been recovered to date? And what action has management taken in order to recover the double payments? Has there been any punishment? Is there any form of recovery? How much so far has been recovered, and what action have you taken? Then on questionable use of single NRCs, we have submitted that engagement census coordinators to provide correct NRCs for the enumerators, and that out of 4 provinces, 2 provinces have submitted correct NRCs. Controlling officer, when did you engage your census coordinators to provide NRCs? When did you engage your census coordinators to provide NRCs? The other question on this questionable use of single NRCs, why did it have to take an audit for you to engage your census coordinators to provide correct NRCs? It took the auditors to come and flag it off for you now to engage your census coordinators to provide the correct. The last one, Chair, failure to acquire title deeds, which is a milestone in most of the parastatal bodies and the IDs, which has resulted in the loss of property. Controlling officer and your team, why did management fail to acquire title deeds for the Zamstat building? The last one, what action has management taken to ensure that the title deeds are acquired? Are you taking any action? Or it will be story as usual? Chair, I thank you.
PS, before you respond to the issues, I'd like you to segment your responses. To begin with the census. And I know that Honorable Mazoka has a few questions to do with those titles that have been alluded to at the end. Handle the questions on the census.
I think on this one, the former statistician general and the accountant will help us to provide clarity.
Statistician General Emeritus, proceed with your response.
If you may allow me, let me ask my former chief accountant.
The ball has been passed.
As it has these payment connotations, I think should be more detailed.
The ball has been passed. Don't drop it, chief accountant.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members. I think on the census, the first question that I'll respond to is for the outstanding allowances. Why they remained outstanding despite the fact that funds had been allocated. In our response, we indicated that these ones were not paid on time because wrong account details were provided by the enumerators, which meant that these payments were unsuccessful. So we took a process of back and forth where we would request them to provide the details until such a time that we were able to pay them successfully. As indicated, they have since been paid. Then on the issue of why the double payment happened, this is more to do with the volumes of transactions that were being handled, considering that the system was a manual one, and also we did not have a software that would provide checks for some of those double payments. So due to that human error, some of these ended up being paid more than once. I submit, Chair.
Human error, misfiling. The repertoire of words in accounting seems to be expanding. Human error, misfiling. Are you content, Statistician General, that we could simply allude all these errors to just human errors, and the committee should just accept and move on?
No, Chair, I just wanted to add one or two things.
In your language, your submission is this way. Alamtwerere ko charifie. Wumuntu wesu mtwerere ko. Meaning human error in English. But it comes out clearly put in our local language. Proceed.
Okay, there are two aspects: the delay in just a detail, the delay in paying the allowances. Some of the challenges which were there were that, one, the enumerators were being recruited at district level, and that was the approval by cabinet. And there were reasons why we did that, because it was a national assignment, national exercise, and wanted all other people to get involved. So once the district census recruitment committee identified those who would participate, according to the numbers we had provided, they would then now send us the details of these enumerators, plus the account numbers and NRC numbers to head office. Now, what we came to learn later on was that some of the account numbers we had been given were actually e-wallet accounts. And some of the e-wallet accounts did not accept anything above 1,000. We're paying them 40% upon signing the contract, and 60% the balance after 100% enumeration. So the 40% was 3,200. So if you uploaded that through Zanaco, it goes to correspondence banks, it will actually bounce. The others were dormant accounts, which were provided by the enumerators. And these dormant accounts basically would not accept the payments. The other one was where the enumerators had perhaps missed a digit in their accounts, and then they basically submit. So, and then these things would not only know once we hear that so many people have not been paid. So we'll get back to Zanaco to find out, we gave you this money, what has happened? You've not paid people. For Lusaka it was easy because they would quickly get back. There was a team that which had been assembled at Zanaco head office. They would quickly get back to say, no, these have been paid. These have not been paid. I may want to mention that part of the noise that was in Lusaka, some of the people did not even participate in the census, but they would add to the noise. So in Lusaka would very easily get back and deal with the issue. But in the most remote parts of the country, and this is where we had these grade 12s that we had employed, some of them had never had an account before. It again became difficult to ask them they would come back, would go to the bank. Some of the banks, through our provincial statistical officers, would actually provide the statements of who has been paid, who has not been paid. And then when they provide that these people have not been paid, then there will be a validation at provincial level and bring it over. And what we would do, if funds bounced, we would ask Zanaco to refund, to reverse the money. And through that process, we never lost any money. All the money was refunded to Zamstats because it had not been passed on. I thought I should just add on one or two details.
Just to clarify the issue of changing from paying into accounts to paying cash. Just a bit more detail about that. Because initially, part of your answers, you're saying, Kumush, who have never had accounts. But there was a change people were now being paid cash and change from accounts. It was not ab initio. It was not the arrangement ab initio.
Well, Chair, again, that was another challenge that we had, I should basically admit. There were times when you've accounts at head office has cleared for uploading so that people are paid. And then first time, after 1 or 2 days, you know that it has bounced, the money has not gone. Then you try, maybe there was something, look at the accounts. Then second time, it has bounced. And at every time, the agency was being charged. And we realized that, you see, we are going to lose money. Let's get to the bottom of it. And some of the things that later on, after some time we discovered, were these grade 12s who had e-right accounts. So one of the decisions was either you ask them to go and open accounts, and these are young people, they don't work, and the requirements for such could be prohibitive. Or what else do we do? And that time there was a lot of pressure. In fact, there could have been a number of riots in the country. I remember for Lusaka, we very much relied on the district commissioner because a number of people would come from Kanyama and all of them to try and just come and deal with us. So in the provinces, then the decision was made by the agency. Why don't we then, because if we keep on sending money and it's bouncing, the other way is to ask these guys to open accounts. It will still delay. So why then do we get validations through the provincial offices working with the banks on these claims and then send money to the provinces? And then these people who are claiming now can actually come and get paid cash. At that moment, that seemed to be just a solution to clear all these outstanding balances. I submit.
Further questions? Honorable Mazoka.
Thank you, Chair. The former Chief Executive has just mentioned that there was no money lost to Zamstats due to double paying. But my question will be, why did the auditors raise this question if there was no money lost and the evidence was given to them?
Further questions? Yes, Honorable Member.
Chair, maybe I did not get the answer from the accountant on the comment that you have made over the claim by the provincial regional offices that there was an amount of 828 which was not paid. Was this claim a correct one or it wasn't a correct one? You have not commented on this one over the claim from the provincial regions offices where an amount was not paid to them. So was it a correct claim or?
Further questions?
Oh, thank you, Chair. On this one, I think I responded to say that amount arose as a result of some of the payments that were unsuccessful, like the Statistician General explained earlier on. These submissions were coming through the provinces after they did their validations. Then those are the ones which were cleared. I think that was the last batch. I submit, Chair.
Statistician General Emeritus.
The Auditor General's office is right. When for double payments, money basically was lost. Now the one I was referring to is where now we are rejected payments. It's a different case, rejected payments. What I was saying was, even when people didn't receive the money on that side, we would ask Zanaco to pay us back. So on those lines, through that line, no money was lost. But for double payments, indeed, money was lost, which I think I think the PS will talk about what is currently being done and perhaps how far they've gone.
How much money was lost?
I'll ask the accountant maybe to speak to that, and the statistician general if there's anything to clarify in terms of the recourse to that.
Thank you, Chair. The amount that is here is the 335,960. The one which has been acknowledged.
300?
335,960 kwacha.
Right. Further questions? Honorable Member.
And the accountant, from that same amount of 300 and is it 25? How much has been recovered to date?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The PS will speak to that in a submission.
Right. Further questions? Honorable, tell us about the monies and the actions taken, and is the money recovered?
I'll ask the statistician general to speak to that as the process is ongoing.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable, for the question. Having it registered as double payment, as confirmed, we've had efforts to reach out to the district census coordinators who happen to be civil servants. These are officers in our institutions, and the others were onboarded. So part of the efforts has been to reach out to them because they were the central people who were actually at the time of recruitment in line with the terms that were provided for the committees to recruit. We had a recruitment committee, and the district coordinators then were the ones who were providing the lists centrally. And these are then our focal points. So we did write to them. First effort was to write to them via email, all of them, notifying them of the double payments for the individuals under their charge. And these were different for each province. Some provinces had 1, some had 2, some 6, and so on. So we reached out to them and told them to get in touch with the enumerators. Some of them responded. They responded by asking for the account number so that they could pass it on and get feedback from the enumerators. We've had follow-up contact with them. This time we've written, and we've asked them to again reach out to the enumerators, and this time we have said that should they fail to do that, they will have to take responsibility for the funds that accrued to the enumerators. And that is, like PSR said, it's an ongoing process, and we continue to reach out. The comfort is that they are indeed within our reach, but we know that they have to reach out to individuals whom we have also. We believe it could be difficult, but we think that putting the responsibility on them will spare them into ensuring that we receive the monies as was paid out. Thank you.
Further questions? Honorable Nimba.
So the answer that has been given on how much so far has been collected, which means nothing except for the communication which is going on to and from. And to these erring officers who did the double payments, you've not given us the action that it's only writing to them. So far, nothing has been collected.
Honorable Nyemba is asking about the money. She's very worried about the money on behalf of the Zambian people, especially that your response is Statistician General is amtujatile mutikululukile answer that first question on SG?
Thank you, Chair. We have received some money. I've been passed on some figures, but we do have to put it all together. But we have, and accounts is required to put together these documents, and we will be tracking this against the money that was given out. We have some collections.
Taking a seat in the grandstand does not elude the eye of the chair. Chief Accountant Chileshi, could you step forward and tell us how much money you've collected?
Thank you, Chair. We haven't collected much. We've only collected from 2 enumerators so far. We've gotten the deposit slip. Thank you, Chair.
That's how much?
That is it's 1,790 kwacha multiplied by 2.
3-4. Honorable Nyemba.
Thank you, Chair. From 300 and whatever something, you've only managed to collect 1,700. Is that being fair to the Zambian people?
Chief Accountant, is that a reflection of a good effort, or it's a resignation that we can't recover this money?
Thank you, Chair. It's not that will not be able to recover this money. Unfortunately, Chair, we only noticed that there was this double payment when the auditors raised this issue. Had we had known it, area would have done much better than we've done. I submit, Chair.
Further questions? Honorable Mazoka.
Thank you, Chair. So, in a nutshell, you are really telling us that you are not, 100% sure or confident that you are going to get this money back. And if it's not gotten back, who will pay it back? Because this is people's money. Thank you, Chair.
Statistician General, acting.
Thank you, Chair. In the letter that we've written to the district census coordinators, we have stressed the need for them to ensure that we require failure to which they are taking responsibility, Chair. That is what we've written, that we will make them pay for the funds under their charge.
Are these double payments?
To recover from their salaries.
Are these double payments part of the resources that you paid out in cash instead of using accounts? Or did you credit accounts twice out of human error, like you said? Did you credit some accounts twice? Or did you pay cash twice? Or did you credit an account and then repeated with a cash payment? How did this happen? Or were there so many people sharing the same names that you got confused? I'm even helping you to respond.
Thank you, Chair. These ones were done electronically, so some accounts were credited twice.
So if there was no auditor general activity in the institution, we would not have noticed that there was double payment? Because the chief accountant just submitted that they only noticed this because of the general came to visit. So assuming there is no auditor general activity at Zamstat, then we would not have noticed a double payment. Question begs, what other errors are there that the Auditor General is not there?
Thank you, Chair. We would not have noticed. That's why the Auditor General really helps us to provide the checks and balances, especially that this was a national activity that involved the volumes of transactions we had.
Do you have internal audit?
The Statistician General will respond to that, Chair. I submit.
Statistician General, do you have internal audit?
Thank you, Chair. We have internal audits. However, Chair, as I think last time I mentioned that we have weaknesses there. We had low capacities in terms of numbers. And the last time we had a senior internal auditor was actually during the census. And after that, we have been seeking support. And I wish to report, Chair, that Control of Internal Audit has responded favorably. And we now have a principal internal auditor who has been assigned to our institution. And this is an area which really was lacking. And we are very hopeful that these issues, which indeed would have been noted by our internal auditor, will happen going forward, Chair.
PS, are you going to allow the board to recruit competent staff, or you're going to continue seconding staff from mainstream government? What amount of operational and financial autonomy does the board have? Are they free to go out there and get the best minds to manage Zamstats? Or they are a decorative board and the functions to do with human capital still remain with your office?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Actually, the vision of the government is to have an independent statistical office called Zamstats, and in line with the Act, the board is in the process of transitioning the current institution into a full-fledged corporate entity. At the moment, Zamstats has been limping, I should say, in view of the issues that had been presented earlier. I think in terms of procurement capacity, they depended on the ministry full-fledged, I think from the past up to somewhere around 2021 or 2022, I should say. Audit, the same. There's been high dependence on the government because we had, I think, just, is it 1 or 2 auditors only within Zamstats? There was only 1 auditor within Zamstats, and it was not really a senior person. And I think that's where the issues are. And that audit at the moment was withdrawn, I believe, by the Controller of Internal Audit. They moved to another place, and it's just we've been trying to see how best we can have a stopgap measure for now until the board takes full control and ensures that the institution is fully resourced, as you have guided with the right competencies and the right complements for that institution to run effectively and efficiently. I submit. Thank you.
This board has so many people it reports to. Even the internal controller can wake up one day and just grab an auditor or post an auditor. The accountant general can also do the same. Are you a body corporate with adequate financial and operational autonomy? Are you bringing value, strength, vision, transformation to this institution? Board Chair.
Thank you, Chair. The vision, Chair, and the committee is to turn this institution really into a technical, modern institution. We have a very high ambition, and as I said earlier on, Chair, is that we are now in the process, at last, in the last couple of weeks, really moving stuff from what the member was asking, what was this institution, from a government to a corporate. And once we get everyone into there, the next level of process, Chair, is really to look at how is this institution be able to operate? What kind of skills do we need to be able to do that? This is something that's going to take us a bit of time because to require a phased approach, given that it will require resources. We'll need to actually see how much would we need from government, to cover from government, to be able to support the new modern institution. So the vision is to have skills, different skills, in the sense that perhaps some of them that are already there is to be reskilled. Identify new skills that are required to be able to run a ZAMSTAT as a modern statistical institution, just like any other in the region. Chair, I must hasten to mention that even where ZAMSTAT sits right now, if you look around in the region, most of the national statistical offices are not in the kind of state that we have in this country, where an institution that holds information for every citizen is surrounded by other institutions. And that makes it a lot of questions that are raised around there. So really our ambition, Chair, is to, with the support of various entities within the countries, to turn this institution into a technical and modern institution. The issues that have been raised about technology are a #1 priority for us. How do we ensure that there's interoperability, there's integration of data, and that even the other entities that are there, the registration, NAPS, ZR, how do they interface with ZAMSTAT? These are issues I think the board is going to be faced in the next couple of months to make this happen. But I must hasten, I think the Ministry of Finance has been very, very helpful in making this happen. As I mentioned, we just started some of the staff this week receiving the letters, and hopefully in the next week or so we should be complete. And then the issue of assessment begins after that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mazoka has some questions on the title deeds issue. They responded to. Yes.
Before they go to title deeds, they've not commented on the 2 provinces which provided the correct NRCs. So this committee would want to know, when did you engage your census coordinators to provide NRCs? And why has it to take the Auditor General's office for you to engage your census coordinators to provide the correct NRCs? It had to take the Auditor General's office. And when did you engage your census coordinators to provide these NRCs in the other 2 provinces? Then I'm sure Honorable Mazoka will come in now with the title deeds, why the management has failed to acquire the title deeds for ZAMSTAT, and what action are you taking to ensure that the title deeds are acquired? Thank you, Chair.
PS, proceed with the response.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask the Acting Statistician General to respond to the 2 questions.
Thank you, Honorable, for your questions. I will speak to the issue of acquiring assets. We have since reached out to the relevant institutions, and we have received a response. Even yesterday, Chair, you received the letter. They've written back to the board chair for our request for acquiring the assets. In terms of the title deeds, actually, we are following through with the guidance that they gave to write to the Ministry of Lands for research and so on. So we are following this very closely, and we believe indication is that we have not lost the property. So we are reaching out to the relevant, and the responses are there, and we've provided some of the responses in the documentation. And I think Census Manager can speak to the issue of the NRCs, the 2 out of the 4 provinces.
Census Manager.
Thank you, Chair. The latest information we have is that we are only remaining with the 6 NRCs to be corrected. The rest of provinces have submitted. It's just the northern which is remaining with the 6 NRCs to be corrected. And this was noticed after the audit. And that's when we started contacting the provinces to correct the NRCs.
Further questions? Honorable Mazoka.
Chair, thank you. I will take the controlling officer back to the title deeds. this is, a very huge problem. All government entities in Zambia seem to think because we are government entities, we don't need, title deeds. You will find, some universities have been encroached on, schools have been encroached on because of lack of title deeds. And this is, almost for every government, institution. Now, this problem has always been flagged off by the Auditor General. Suppose the Auditor General didn't wake you up to this realization. So were you going to keep on squatting on land that is not yours? Because, it should be easy for you, being a government, institution, to acquire title deeds. And how long have you been sitting on that land, that piece of property, without title deeds? How long has this, institution operated from this piece of land? For you to be, reminded by the Auditor General to acquire title deeds. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, proceed to respond to that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. Maybe just to provide a bit of context, ZAMSTATS is a new agency that has emerged from a former department of the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. The committee may wish to note that what was then the Central Statistics Office was a department under the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. And the premises where the Central Statistics Office operated from belonged to the Ministry of Finance and National Planning as part of its assets in terms of the land and the buildings that were there. And the building that is currently occupied by the ZAMSTATS in essence came to be part of the Ministry of Finance and National Planning properties or buildings, in view of the fact that whatever was housed on that land, which belonged to the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, was constructed under the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. With the creation of the new agency, that means that there should be a process of transfer of the asset as required by law through the Minister of Finance and National Planning, as well as the Ministry of Lands, to be able to transfer of the assets to the agency to be bequeathed as an owner of that land and building where they are sitting. In our response, we indicated that this process has started of requesting the agency has requested the Secretary to the Treasury to conduct what is called an asset transfer, which was under the Central Statistics Agency to the Zambia Statistics Agency. Correspondence was done last year to seek authorization for this asset to be transferred to the agency because it belonged to the government under the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. And the process that has started then, I think that's a response that the board chair has received so far from the Treasury to commence the process of having this asset transferred in their care. I submit, Chair.
Further questions?
If I may just add on to what has been said by the PS, is the guidance that we received is that we're going to be setting up a committee coming from several ministries, including Zamstat itself nominating 4 people. And we have to do this before the end of this month. So I'm hopeful that before the end of this week, that committee will be in place. Not only to look at the assets of the building itself, but other assets that Zamstat is going to be taking over from former Central Statistical Office. Thank you.
Statistics are crucial for any nation. Statistics enable development planning. It enables informed policy formulation. Statistics enables informed decision making. So it's extremely important that you recognize how important Zamstat is to Zambia. You are such a fundamental institution that you help government plan, you help government allocate resources. Statistics will help us monitor progress towards attaining our developmental goals. We must invest in credible data. This is a sacred institution, and to have a grim audit of this magnitude, of this nature, is to assert the credibility of the data that is coming out of Zamstats. My first appeal on behalf of this committee is to you, PS, as a shareholder, government, to ensure that corporate governance is cured at Zamstats. If you heard one statement from the board chair, too many institutions surrounding it means too many PowerPoints. You're questioning the independence, the autonomy, and the ability of the institution to actually invest in robust systems that will ensure credible management of statistics in the nation. Corporate governance must be cured, and therefore make sure that the board, one, is always in place. To hear that there was no oversight for a long period between the current board and the previous board is to allow mischief at management level. And this issue of not having a board and allowing an institution to carry on like that predisposes our technical staff to vulnerabilities. Them carrying out decisions beyond their pay grade. We have high-flying statisticians in this country. Some of them are in here. Some of them, they are on the street. Some of them are consulting. By the structural malalignment in these institutions, we expose our technocrats to vulnerabilities, that are career limiting. But at the end of the day, it's us, the people, who lose, because we invest heavily in these statisticians, and they're not many. We can count them. And they are admired by the international community. At the moment they step foot on the street without a job, they always land these big opportunities. Who loses? Those of us who invested as a people in the education of this human capital. I am emphasizing, let's cure corporate governance. Let's have a board that has financial and operational autonomy to hunt for human capital of the highest caliber to manage the statistics of the country. And a lot of them are within this country, some right within this room. Their pedigree is clear. To have an audit query, an audit report, PS, that is referring to poor financial management is too basic. If you have a need for more resources beyond your budget, the cure is to ask for more. It is not to start adjusting on your own. That's basic. Even if you put a ballpark figure, that ballpark figure is informed by some, cost centers. If you unzip that ballpark figure, you'll find the cost centers. They may not be fitting in one compendium of a book you bring here. It is there. And so you can't just bring a list of activities and get approval and then go and do what you want. This is the reason I called it fraudulent procurement of approval. When you have no authority to spend and you spend in other jurisdictions, it is called theft. Authority to spend is not supposed to be retrospective. And these are not emergencies. These are planned activities. A census is a huge logistical exercise that should be planned, and planning is a science, and there is no reason to fail to plan for a census, counting the people, so that you can plan for the health of the people, for the education of the people, so that you can plan for many other areas that require us to invest. That's the reason why statistics for a nation should never be compromised. And it will only be possible to have credible statistics if you invest in good corporate governance. Procurement issues are glaringly wrong. This audit report brings to the fore butchering of procurement rules, baffling to this committee, and does not reflect competence in the procurement unit. And for a corporate body to fail to invest in human capital to carry out procurement, it speaks so much to the board and their appointing authority. This is the reason why this committee shall insist that you always have a board in place to take responsibility, and the board to ensure that they appoint competent people to manage its affairs. Issues of lack of strategic plans. ICT strategic plan basically speaks to lack of a broad strategic plan, because a broad strategic plan is a sum total of those sectoral strategic plans. So, census manager also in charge of ICT, the question begs, how do you operate without a plan? A plan gives you direction, and people in ICT are the ones who are supposed to provide lead when it comes to us leveraging technology to improve our data management. Business processes and systems need to be improved at Zamstats. We see a total departure from prudent financial management in this audit report ended 31st December 2023. When you see institutions not having audited accounts and only being able to notice double payments and other glaring anomalies during Auditor General's visits, it brings to the fore just one issue. We are failing to provide spotlight on the performance of that institution, and the question begs, what are we concealing? We are supposed to be counting people in a census and not looting, and let it not be presented to the public that a census is an opportunity to loot.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. That was the Committee on Parastatal Bodies receiving submissions from the Ministry of Finance and Zamstat as they consider the reports of the Auditor General on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other financial institutions. So before lunch break, the Committee on Local Government Accounts was interacting with Chilanga Town Council. And so they are ready, and just now we cross over to the Committee on Local Government Accounts.
Actually, the other college for the church had papers. If they had papers, why didn't they submit them during the time of audit? So as far as we are concerned, all the two colleges had no requisite papers as required by law for them to admit students to their college. However, monies were spent, total negligence on the part of officers. So that was what was established, and we were vindicated as a committee that the officers indicated to say, actually it's us as officers who failed the committee on CDF. Follow-up questions. I mean, not follow-up questions, new questions, honorable members. If you are not ready, I'll ask one. As you prepare, honorable members, mine is, the first one is on page 14. Unspent, that one is, okay. No, the 14 is done. Sorry, I'm guided. The 14 is resolved. Sorry, CS. My question is on page, I see here. Sorry. It's on page 11. CS and the team. Youth and women empowerment soft loans unaccounted for stores. Is this this one was resolved also. Sorry. CS. We go to page 3. It's actually, yes. Let's go to page, it starts from page, page 7, yes. Failure to commission health post Mwembeshi. Failure to commission project Mwembeshi Ward. On 29th March 2023, the Council V Property Investments Limited for the construction of a at Mbamba Community at a contract price of 523,000 VAT inclusive. Fast forward, as at 31st December 2023, the contractor had been paid 354.25 kwacha 73 ngwe, as you can see from the a physical inspection carried out revealed that despite the completion of the health post, it had not been commissioned, and 4 months after the contractor had handed over the project on 16th October 2023. The council takes so long. The contractor was cleared 4 months after the project could not be handed over, could not be commissioned. Yes.
Thank you, Chair, for that question. Chair, as we have indicated in our action taken report, as at that, in terms of planning, we missed out auxiliary house, water reticulation, incinerator, and some furniture which must be used for the hospital to be operational. As we have indicated again, as per presidential directive going forward, we are planning all structures we are building or health, including auxiliary. When you complete, it must be used as a full package, Chair.
Which presidential strategy?
It should have been in 2023 and 24, somewhere there.
From the onset, the President has indicated that when you are doing a classroom, it must have desks. A health post should have, if it is a, it should have a house, it should have also. So when you are referring to the presidential directive, excite me, but I'm wondering, 23, the instructions were already. How was your planning? You didn't realize, you didn't know about the directive. What made you to plan without those the structures? And now this project could not be commissioned, and is.
Thank you, Chair. May I ask my colleague to comment?
CS, the outgoing CS.
Thank you, Chair. This project was under the 2022 funding before those directives came on board. So the planning at the time was basically to just do a structure, which was the approved project was just the health post without the accompanying infrastructure. So
it's very interesting, CS. You, being a technocrat, you wait for the president, who is not an engineer or is not, to tell you that a health post should have furniture, should have a house. How did you expect this project just to build a structure without anything? How did you expect, you as technocrats, what was it meant for if you didn't have those auxiliary items to come with it? How did you, just to, I'm trying to find out, you are building it for what? A warehouse or a health post?
Thank you, Chair. The view of the community, as well as us, the way we look at it, when we are doing projects like that, we are looking at them as phased provision of infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
So that we start with what we have available, because if we were to provide all the infrastructure, perhaps the budgets may not cover everything. So we are looking at a phased development of the facility, starting with the core building, followed by other infrastructure.
Did you budget for it in 2023?
Yes, Chair, we did.
You did all the houses and other things?
Yes, we have done the staff house, we have done the water utilization and the incinerator. I think we have also now provided for procurement of the furniture. Maybe
So 2023 you budgeted for incinerator, the house and the water integration.
Correct, Chair.
So what is remaining is
Maybe I may ask the data engineering to give the latest status of the artifact.
well, this is a 2022 project. This is 2025. You have not finished. Director engineering.
Thank you, Chair. This particular project, due to funding constraints, Chilanga being wide as it is, that is how the phasing came into play.
So sorry for that. You have continued to spread the money small all over. You don't complete a project as long as I've given them something. How it is used is not an issue, but you have given them. I thought that the enhanced CDF, the coming of an enhanced CDF, meant that when you are assigned, say we are building a classroom block, it must be finished, costed to the finish and put desks there. When you are doing a health post or maternity, all what is needed to be put there for it to be commissioned and start functioning or working, it is put there. You go to the next. But in Chilanga, you continued small here, we phase. 2023, where did we, can you remember? Oh, there, let's finish. You do this. Is this the approach? And do you think this is a good approach that you have taken? Because what we were guided from the onset, start a project, let it be completed and handed over, start benefiting the community. Because how do you expect this community to appreciate the project? In 2022, 2023, you add some money, it is not working accordingly because you have not fully done everything that is needed for it now to benefit the people. So you go to another place again, put some money there, it doesn't benefit the people, you are still coming the other year. This is 2025. A project started in 2022. The question is this the way it's supposed to be done? Do we even need instructions? That's why I asked. It looked funny, but it's important. When you phase it, when you do that, what are you telling the people? How are you using this facility, property? In the meantime, it is not being utilized for the purpose it was built. So it could be a warehouse for storing medicines or other things, other materials, because it is not fully completed. Is this the best approach? Or do we wait for other instructions? Now buy furniture now. Secular. Buy furniture. You buy furniture, now do this. Is this the way we are going to operate? CS or director engineering?
Thank you, Chair. We should have done better, Chair, in terms of moving in that direction. In a decentralized setups, Chair, we don't need to be told from Lusaka that this is the situation. I think going forward, we had admitted that omission, Chair, and wish to move that. That's why I had indicated in my submission that I only referred to the presidential directive because that is what the president has been talking on from day one. And going forward, we'll make sure that we plan for, if it is a classroom, the cost of the desk should be part of the cost of the project so that we're able to actualize the service delivery accordingly, Chair.
Honorable members, as we wind up, short one, Doc.
Thank you, Chair. Page 4.
Page 4.
We just look at the delayed completion of a 1x3 classroom block at Kalundu Primary School. This project was awarded at 1 million for the 2,270 to Figi General Dealers and Transport. And the initial construction period is supposed to be 3 months. Apparently it dragged on until until ending 2024. The questions
is the delay is, as per Appendix 3, is first of all the change in the design for the concrete floor to terrazzo that a contractor was to do at no cost. And so the question I have, these delays, we need to find out the reasons as to what culminated into the delays. Where is the completion certificate for this project? 1. 2, this project was funded in 2022, CDF 2022. But procurement, it was only procured on the 3rd July 2023. Why 7 months, almost 8 months, that you had the funds without procurement acting on this matter? And then the PV, the payment vouchers, are not audited for the monies that the contractor collected, which was 88% of the contract sum. So maybe we answer to this, and what is the final completion certificate in terms of financial details that are not, I cannot see in the document.
CS.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the delays, this is one of the projects where, because it was at a national tender, first of all, we took a bit of some time to get the contracts cleared. There was a bit of some time at the Attorney General's office at the time, and then also at the because both the contract was supposed to be cleared both at the Attorney General and at Finance Ministry. So it was one of the reasons this project took quite long, and basically that was one of the reasons it took long. In terms of the other details, I would request maybe data engineering to just data engineering or finance too.
Don't trouble the director, he's a new man. Are you able to?
Yes, Chair, I can elaborate
that's good,
a little. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So in terms of the completion certificate, it is attached on Appendix 3. And then in terms of the reasons for the delay, Chair, the site conditions, I think when the contractor went on site, were faced a bit of challenges, because Kalundu as it is, those that might know the area, is rocky. So the contractor faced challenges in terms of doing excavations for foundations. So that delayed the contractor to proceed as earlier budgeted, as earlier intended according to the schedule of works. So that contributed.
What we know from where we are seated is that when you tender projects, these contractors are taken to site to appreciate. And when they appreciate the site, the terrain, they go ahead to execute the project. Did these contractors not know the terrain or the geography or whatever you can call it, arrangement in that area? The other question, Director, is when the contractors take possession of site, they start the works, it is incumbent upon you as Director, technical person, to check on all the contractors to appreciate the works they are doing. And on the sites, on these various sites, there is always a document that when you visit for monitoring, you sign. I've visited to check the works. So far the contractor is doing this and that. Do you do that? And if you were doing that for this particular project, Kalundu, at which point
Where is the evidence to show that you really were visiting this site and you noted, sympathized with the contractor? Really, it took that contractor long to do excavation. You can help me.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you rightly put it, every site should have a site book where you log in details as you proceed, as you visit the site and do inspections. I might not be able to speak to whether at that time that practice was there, because these are projects that were being done with the improved CDF. So there are a number of practices through experience that are being fine-tuned as we go through the implementation of these projects.
So you see, I was very kind of you. I said you may not, but you chose to say no, I'm equal to the task, because these are the normal things that are put in place. So for this reason that you have put here, that it took long beyond time, even excavation, it may need evidence to show that, look at this, on such a day we visited. And when you do monitoring, you do a short report. After your round of check, you do a report to the CS that we did this contractor on this project. So far the works at this point, we are satisfied, or is not moving on time, or moving with time, is a bit behind. You put all those reports to you put on file. But the problem is you don't monitor, or the people who monitor do not do reports, because you, the people responsible officers, as engineers and planners, you don't do that. These are realities. Even yourselves, you know what we are talking about. But this is what we expect from you, not us as a committee. That's what is expected of you, so that when auditors come, they know that, oh, we have been visiting. The site visits indicate this. Then they will sample to see what you're talking about is reflective of what is on the ground. But you neglect to do these things. Hence, some of these queries can be dropped. Doc, we are winding up.
I saw something that looks like a completion certificate in the Appendix 3. So I want to find out the salient features of the completion certificate. Does this paper that you put here in the Appendix 3 conform to the standards of a completion certificate for a project?
Director Engineering, what are the salient features of a completion certificate?
Thank you, Chair. From my understanding, a completion certificate will have features like a project name, a contractor, who the client is, the funding of the project, things like a brief scope of what the works was in general. I think those are the features. Then also it indicates whether the works were certified complete at the time of the inspection.
Dr. Manzo.
So does this certificate meet the fundamental requirements of the completion certificate? It is not even issued to a contractor. It is an internal document. The Director of Engineering to Council Secretary.
It's a memo.
So this is no wonder we do not have financial details. This project, I can only see only one payment, this 915,164, which represents 88% of the contract sum. And you're saying you've issued a completion certificate. So, has a contractor, what is the final project account details, so that we check what is the impact on the delay on the completion of this project on finances, as well as delayed benefits to the community. What is the final, why we don't have financial details like a final IPC?
Doc, your mic. are you seeing this document as after giving us those features of completion certificate? Do you see this? Yes, yes.
May I come in?
No problem.
When you look at the document attached here, Chair, it is a status report, which is basically talking about the details of the works done. In a nutshell, Chair, I submit that we should have done better as well on this one, considering the features which the Director of Engineering has mentioned, which should also speak to the contractor's name, the cost, the period of the contract should appear on this IPC, on the
certificate,
completion certificate.
Thank you.
At a time, this is what was produced.
Thank you, CS.
Thank you.
It's been very pleasing, this engagement with you, Chilanga Council, in the sense that you are conceding on the fundamental omissions that are taking place, because you are not the only council. We are treated to so many types of paper or documents that they will tell you this is a completion certificate. But if you look at the main features, fundamental features that are supposed to be there to speak to it, hence this committee persuaded the Ministry of Local Government and Housing, and the ministry took it up. They have prepared a standard completion certificate, a standard IPC with the features that are supposed to be there. But we continue as a council, even when the government is guiding. But we are not surprised, because government through the ministry has been given instructions, even in regulations, coming up with anything. Councils will choose to follow or not follow. It becomes optional. So they sometimes choose to govern themselves and not listen to the government, what they are guiding them. It's our prayer through this committee that one day we have officers who are going to be law-abiding, following what they are guided. The day we are going to do that, that will be the beginning of change, better change for the Zambian people. Chilanga Council, you have failed the test of this committee. If you look at there's so many omissions in your report. It's actually a very bad report. Failing to do the roads on time. Again, the roads are not done to the standard. Yes, it was explained that it was just merely opening up and not graveling or other things. But you can do better. The people of Chilanga deserve a best service from the council. Now that we have the machinery that we have been, and you, Chilanga, procured in 2022. You are one of the first councils. Then the other thing is you decided to take or to approve payments and take students skills training to colleges that have not been cleared by TVETA. TVETA has got certain conditions they check to approve. Is either the competence of the personnel who are training our pupils or students. They have to check who are the people who are going to undertake this training. Because taking CDF money to a college which has not been certified, it questions and it brings a problem to the standard of training that will be offered by that college. The conditions prevailing within that facility and other factors that TVETA looks into. Until they are satisfied, they will give this college a certificate. Yes, now you can go ahead. And that is how the council can take their students to that college. But you as a council, you don't do due diligence. You go ahead and take your students there. That is in 2023. Up to now, some of them who have heard, they have not even graduated. The director planning was telling us that no, maybe they were failing. They were failing because you took them to a college that had no qualified personnel. So it becomes a cost, council secretary. And you know, we are lucky these pupils, these students, they just want to get a skill. But you have inconvenienced them. Their families, they could have graduated. They could have gotten that skill. So the idea is not just paying a college, sending pupils there. These pupils or students should come back qualified to come and take the industry, to come and help this country. But we are taking them to colleges. This is the council of Chilanga. And other councils are doing that. Why do you do that? Is it a CDF committee? It's not the MP. But you technocrats. And when we expose these things, you start wondering, no, this committee is not fair. We are going to continue exposing these things so that we assess whether you mean well to this country or to the people of Chilanga. Then the other issue that has been observed is like the one that Dr. Mwanza observed, noted. It's a project of 2022, whichever month in 2022. But procurement is done for 7 months after, 2023, that's when this project is procured. Now, if you look at procuring the project, again you add the 3 months of implementation. A 2022 project. That's why when you read, we ask you, the 2023 project, which were approved in 2023, most of the councils, including mine, you find that the implementation is done in the following year. Is that the case? Are we living by the instructions of the president? The answer is no. And now we are putting the president on the spot. He's the one now coming, please. The president, he has seen that we can only be told, do this. That's when we do it. But why are we employed? The best the president can do or the government is to give us a 30.6 million. You determine your own projects, determining and executing them. So that area, you have a weakness. Then lastly, can we see the best roads graded? The president again, he has even given us fuel, because there are some councils which bought machinery and he failed to budget for fuel. So we had to take the president to tell us, here is money, put this for fuel. Everything should come from there. Then why are we employed? Now we have an allocation for fuel. The expectation is that these roads, all of them in the communities, will be graded. With that said, Council Secretary, I would like to thank you for your appearance. Otherwise, your performance is very poor. You have not lived to the expectations. That's why auditors have highlighted all these omissions. Look at the projects. These things I've mentioned here. Never again should you take students to colleges that have not cleared by TVET. Suspicious. Maybe you had a cut from there. This should not be an issue. It's not Chilanga, it's every council. With that said, I would like to withdraw the immunity that was earlier conferred on you. Go and put your house in order. From now on, you are on your own. We wish you well as you go back.
a lovely afternoon. Thank you for joining us. You're tuned into Parliament Television. That was Chilanga Town Council making an appearance before the Local Government Accounts Committee. And the Chilanga Town Council was being led by Mr. Francis Ndola, who is the Council Secretary. And so still to come is Chasefu Town Council, as the Committee on Local Government Accounts continues to consider the report of the Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2023. Earlier on in the morning, we did have CHONGWE Municipal Council making an appearance before the Committee on Local Government Accounts. So do stand by for Chasefu Town Council. Pleasant viewing.